You're watching the West Block on Global.
There's no question that Canadians across this country are feeling the impact of the second wave of COVID-19, but seniors are being particularly hard hit. Some living on a fixed income are now struggling with the increasing cost of goods and services resulting from the virus. Others are suffering in isolation, unable to see friends and family because of the risk that they face. But long-term care homes has been the epicenter of so much of the Canadian tragedy when it comes to COVID-19. 85% of deaths in this country in the first wave happened in long-term care homes and led to calls to do more for Canada's seniors. But what has Ottawa done to address this problem? Last week, I sat down with Canada's Seniors Minister, Deb Schultz, to discuss what the government has done and where they're at on their promises to do more for Canada's aging population. Minister, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a real pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Seniors are the people who have so much been at the focus of this pandemic that we've all been suffering through, but they've suffered so disproportionately to the rest of the population. You're the minister for seniors. A lot of Canadians, I think, don't even know we have a minister for seniors. So can you tell me a little bit about what you've been doing throughout the pandemic?
Absolutely, yeah, and it's been a real privilege to serve as the senior minister. It's been incredibly difficult for seniors across Canada. First, we know that they've had some financial difficulties because there were added costs as a result of the pandemic. They've had to be staying home more because they're more vulnerable. So they've ended up having more issues with isolation and access to services and supports. And obviously we have the seniors that are in long-term care, and that's a tragedy that's occurred in Canada with so many lost with the pandemic.
With 85% of the deaths being long-term care facilities and most of those being seniors, do you think that the Canadian government has failed seniors in COVID-19?
No, I would say that the Canadian government has stepped up, and obviously it is a jurisdiction that is with the provinces and territories, but we've been there right from the very beginning to help with financial support, with Canadian forces when asked to intervene in those that were spiking and having difficulties. We also provided $3 billion to support in essential workers top-up of wages to help make sure that we had the employees that we needed in the long-term care facilities because there was a shortage of people being able to serve in those facilities.
One of the promises your government had made back, it feels like eons ago, but in the 2019 election was to increase the OAS. We had talked about this with the finance minister, we've talked about it with others. The government has said that they are still committed to doing this, but it was supposed to happen by July. It has not happened. Are you still committed to increasing the OAS for seniors, and when can seniors expect to see that money?
Absolutely. You saw in our throne speech that we've recommitted to providing those 75 and above 10% increase in their old age security. But during the pandemic, what we were focused on is making sure seniors got an amount of money right away. So we were making sure that we were focusing on those seniors that needed it during the pandemic, and that's why we did what we did.
So did you have a sense of a timeline on when they could see the OAS increase?
So we've committed to it in our platform. We'll be working on that as we move forward, so stay tuned.
Your government has promised guidance, national guidance on long-term care homes.
Yeah.
When can we expect to see that?
So we are working already. The process has started. The Prime Minister had conversations with the premiers to initiate the conversation on how we're going to move forward with national standards. So that process has already started. There'll be lots of conversations, and obviously we'll be sharing the information as we move forward.
I'm curious to know, when it comes to those standards, what are your thoughts on how you enforce them? Is it, for example, the provinces committing to having regular inspections of these homes? Is it making healthcare dollars contingent on promising to make these implementations? Because I think people are hungry for the idea that there should be standards nationally in the homes, but how do you make that a reality for the vulnerable people who are in those homes?
So these are the important conversations that we'll have to be having with the provinces and territories. You know, how do we move forward? How can we work with them to support them? And there are a variety of different ways to do it, and those are the conversations that we'll be undertaking.
Are you concerned about seniors' mental health?
Absolutely.
I mean, the second wave, you just think your heart breaks for these folks who are in long-term care homes. It's emotional for me too. I can see it in your eyes.
Well,
who have dementia. I mean,
I'll tell you why. Because I had my mother-in-law in a long-term care facility and she passed away in June. So I am totally aware of the challenges that families have had across Canada. I've got my father-in-law in a seniors residence and the challenges that he has with us not being able to see him and the mental health, the strain of him losing his wife, not being able to see her as she deteriorated because we weren't able to be with her. So it is very emotional. I'm emotional too because I've lived it. And I hear the stories and I'm on the phone and I got the emails and I'm with people every day that are struggling with this issue. So we are seized with how do we address that isolation, and I talked a little bit about the New Horizons for Seniors program and how we've put more money in that and how that is helping not just in the communities but in long-term care centers too, because we provided money for those devices to be distributed. And I can tell you that was a lifeline and how we connected with our mother-in-law, but with my mother-in-law before she passed. She was able to see us on the screen and we were able to talk to her. It's not the same, we couldn't hold her hand, but we could at least see her and know that she was being cared for well. Those were important things to know, and you can really only do that when you see people.
Minister, a lot of seniors are frustrated because they feel that they did not receive the funding that other groups did. They saw money going to people who'd lost their jobs. They saw money going to students, to young people, and they're saying, look, I can't go back to work. I've lost my savings. Why isn't the government doing more? Why isn't the government supporting seniors more financially?
Well, thank you very much for that, because we have been focused on seniors and delivering financial support for seniors. And what we did in July was provided those on old age security an additional $300 tax-free. Those are on guaranteed income supplement. They got an additional $200. So if for couples that were on guaranteed income supplement, they got an additional $1,500. That is, if you include it with the GST top-up, they got $1,500 of direct financial support tax-free.
What about seniors who aren't low-income seniors? How much would they have seen?
So if they're on old age security, so they're talking 6.7 million seniors would have received individually the $300 and couples would have received $600.
And what about those who say $300 wasn't very much if you've seen your investments tank?
So, in terms of investments, we went to look at how we could help there, and that's where we did the Registered Retirement Income Fund reduction of 25% to try to help those with investments.
Minister, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's all the time that we have for today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Mercedes Stevenson for the West Block, and we'll see you right here next Sunday.